Testing. Testing. Work session of the Isabella County Board of Commissioners to order. Stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, a roll call, please.
Commissioner Hutchinson, Commissioner Embry, Commissioner Jazinski, Commissioner Engler, Commissioner Sweeney,
Here.
Commissioner Holt.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, except for Commissioner Hutchinson.
Okay, Commissioner Hutchinson did let me know that he was unable to make it tonight. So next up will be approval of the agenda. We'll start out with general public comments. And then presentations and special reports. We have the Michigan State University Extension folks. We have no appointments to boards and commissions, brings us down to committee reports, Finance and Administration Committee.
Finance Administration Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
And Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
The Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee is all set, Mr. Chairman.
And we have no business under Human Resources and Public Works. We have no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business under new business. Consider approving an external hiring freeze for all general fund funded positions unless the requirements of the position will not allow for it, effective immediately. And then we will have, after new business, general public comment again, and then announcements and adjournment. So with that, are there any additions or deletions? Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add under new business, discussion about Board of Commissioners compensation.
Is that a motion? I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and supported to add commissioners' compensation under new business. All those in favor of the addition, say aye. Aye. Okay, and with that, all those in favor of approval of the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, very good. Brings us down to general public comment. Is there anyone for general public comment? Yep, sir. Could you step up front and sign in?
You guys hear me? All right, so my name is Mike Rogers. I live in Wademan. And I want to thank you guys for letting me speak. And the main topic I would like to talk about is, you guys all know the taxes and the letter that went out. I'm assuming every year a budget is set by every one of you. And I'm wondering what happened to that budget, what happened to forecasting, and why we didn't come up with a solution prior to this millage coming out that got declined. Then the next thing is the letter that went out by Nicole Frost there. And I don't know if you guys are aware, but our county workers do not make that much money. 77% of the nation gets paid more than our county workers. And so to blame, I guess, salary is something that I don't think is correct. I think I would love to hear why we haven't figured this out and why we're gonna be going into a bigger deficit. And on top of that, people are struggling in this county, in this nation every day. And then, for you guys to try and come up with the amount of money that you wanted to add to the property taxes. And then on top of it, send out a nasty press release. It doesn't fly. I talk with hundreds of residents every day in what I do. And all of them believe the same thing. And there's a lot of corruption here in this room right now. So it would be great if these people knew what was going on, or we just started over and had a whole new board. That's what people want. So that's just my two piece. I wanted to tell you guys, and there's a few, and I like you as a person, including Chris over there. And I will be running against him. And I hope a lot more people do the same thing to every other district. So that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Anyone else for general public comment?
Well, good evening. My name is Charlie Lux, and I actually wasn't even going to speak until that gentleman got up to speak. And Mr. Rogers, yeah, I echo your sentiments about, and I think I read something on Facebook, and of course it's true, that we're not the best county when it comes to management of dollars and our property taxes. And I think the census in 2020 that pretty much says the same thing, that our county is not in the greatest of shape. I don't, you're responsible for that, especially our administrator. She's only been here a short time, but just to Nicole's defense, I think the letter she wrote was great. I think it was misconstrued by a lot of people. The first time I read it, it just sounded like she was speaking on behalf of the county, that the county has heard what the voters had to say and they shot the millage down. So kudos to that. And our taxes will remain the same. So I think your letter was great. I think it was misconstrued by a lot of people. So I just want you to know that. As far as Commissioner Embry just brought up something that he's going to add to the agenda tonight, and that's your wages. And based on what Mr. Rogers said, if you guys lowering your wages, maybe you shouldn't, because if what he's saying is true, you're already underpaid. So keep that in mind. If you're going to raise your wages, well, maybe we'd be against that. So just keep that in mind when that portion of the discussion comes up. But you guys have a tough job. There's no question about it. And to be a political is not an easy thing. So thank you for doing that. I mean, nobody goes to school and they want to be a politician. I don't remember going to political class or something on how to be what you guys are. So we all have jobs. We have things to do. I know you're doing the best you can. And maybe this millage that we just had is a real good eye opener of how to run a business. And, you know, I'm a business owner and I don't have a money tree out back. I mean, I look for have one. So, so we gotta tighten up our belt buckles and find ways to make money. And I think you guys are about to address that. So thank you on behalf of the county.
Thank you. Anyone else for general public comment? Okay, seeing no one else for general public comment, we will move along to presentations and special reports, Michigan State University Extension. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Director.
Nice to see you all. I know that you've heard me talk quite a bit, so I brought a celebrity guest with me today, Kara Lynch. And she's going to share a couple things about some of the efforts that we're providing for the citizens in Isabella County. With that, I did just want to share a couple updates. I think, and hopefully most people are aware, but we are very staff fortunate, I think, with MSU Extension in terms of the services that we provide for the county investment. We have, including myself, we have 5 full-time educators that are supported by funds outside of the county funding. And then obviously we have the two positions that are supported by county funds. And then in addition to that, I just also wanted to share that last year in 2022 and 2023, we served 3,136 youth in different programs from Isabella County. And I think, there's my goosebump moment of the night, right? There's a lot of kids that are out there getting a lot of supports, a lot of services through the 4-H programs. And, and it's not all agriculture either. Obviously, that's kind of our foundation, but there's a lot of different clubs that kids are learning how to do babysitting so that they can get some revenue for themselves and different activities like that we're trying to teach a lot of these lifelong skills. I think, I hear a lot about the future of America and the kids and, how they don't have the same work ethic. Well, I just want to share that last Friday, I had the opportunity. It was the highlight of February, for me, to be frank with you. At Mid-Michigan College, we had over 350 youth from around from Isabella County and the surrounding counties came in for mock interview days. And, we hear about, the kids don't have work ethic. These kids came in, they were wearing shirts and ties. They were, they were obtaining skills so that they can either take their next step for college or take their next step in the career after school. And I'll tell you, it was really uplifting. It was really rewarding because it was like, hey, these kids, and they're new, right? They didn't know what they didn't know, but that was like an opportunity for them to like showcase themselves. And I thought it was just a really cool event where we touched a lot of lives and those skills on where they'll either go to college or they'll join the workforce and they'll have a couple of nuggets of information that'll help them on that path. And so with that, I will pass it over to Kara.
Probably need the microphone more than him. So or the outline agenda that I'm a registered dietitian and that is true. But my role with Extension is as a food safety educator. I do serve counties outside of Isabella County, but I am fortunate to live in this county where I call home. I'm just wondering here if anyone tonight can tell me if you've ever had a foodborne illness. Okay. I see a few hands going up. I have as well. I actually contracted listeria when I was pregnant and it did cause a miscarriage. So it's kind of interesting, fast forward to my current job, that I'm teaching food safety and trying to help prevent that. So one of the foundation programs of Extension is teaching, and it was started years ago with Extension, is teaching food preservation classes. So that's, I always say, the fun part of my job. So we did shift in 2020 to teaching these a lot online. And so every Thursday for about 10 months out of the year, we teach classes at 1 o'clock and 6 o'clock. They're free. So that's one of the fun parts of my job, but I also do offer those classes in person and always am looking for opportunities to engage with the community to teach those types of classes. I just answered an email today from COA in Shepherd who wants to talk to the seniors about decreasing food waste. And that is certainly one of the ways I can do that as well. So that's the fun. Some of the other parts of my job are a little bit more humdrum with talking more about food safety. A big program that I teach is ServSafe. ServSafe is a certification class that anyone that runs a licensed food service operation has to have in order to be licensed. So I have a class tomorrow at, well, I used to have it in room 320 usually. Tomorrow I'm holding it at the library. So I hold those once or twice a month. Well, twice a month this year. It's increasing in demand, it seems like. And we have a lot of spin-off classes. And this is a handout I do pass out a lot because a lot of people don't realize the depth of what we do offer. On the back side, it does go through a lot of our different curriculums and what we provide. Some of these are spin-offs from the ServSafe program. I mean, we base them on the food code, which is what ServSafe is founded on. And so cooking for crowds is one of them. Actually, Jerry, you and your wife took an online class. It's a great program to offer to community groups where there's a volunteer base, churches, Lions clubs, things like that. To trying to bring everybody up to have that good food handling practices. We have another program that I actually help co-author. It's called Safe Food Equals Healthy Kids. This was launched in 2018 and we've won several awards on it. It's called Safe Food Equals Healthy Kids. And it's a food safety program for childcare providers. Since 2020 hit, we did, of course, go online also with that. And it really took off. So we're able to have a much greater reach by teaching it online. And we offer those classes once or twice a month. Again, they're free for childcare providers. And that was established with grant funds. Another part of my job is trying to seek out grant funds as much as possible. We got a Michigan Health Endowment Fund grant for that program development. I've also gotten, was the PI for other grant funds to help us to teach cottage food law efforts. That's another program we offer. And the focus of that was to try to increase consumer awareness on selling food legally. Basically, a lot of people will try to sell what should be a licensed food, and they're trying to sell it as a cottage food. So there was a big effort with that. MDART actually sought us out, asked me if I would apply for this grant, and we had some funds, and that was our effort. So the graphics that you see on the left-hand side actually were created with grant funds, and we established a social media presence. We do a lot of our cottage food education through that, as well as promoting classes, offering just general food safety information, recall information. So we also have pantry classes. We developed some really nice professionally done videos to try to push them out we use them in our classes, but also in social media. There's 12 different videos that are 1 to 3 minutes in length. So we're writing articles. So I do a lot of stuff in our downtime as well. Any questions? Yes.
Ms. Lynch, a little off topic, sort of. If I currently have a ServSafe management certification from Florida, does that transfer?
Yes, it does. It's a national exam. So
And then recertifying if it expires?
yes, you can contact me. We offer just proctoring of the exam for people that are recertifying, but we always funnel them into a class if they're new to the process, but, yes.
If it ever came about where you needed assistance, could someone with a ServSafe manager certification be of any assistance to you in what you do?
I guess probably not directly, maybe more indirectly. We are like through a lot of other programs, in particular 4-H. We have like a 4-H youth camp every year, and they do need a safe certified manager to
Yeah.
oversee that, and opportunities like that do exist within extension. So.
Good. Again, thank you for what you do, to protect the residents. Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
I've served as the board representative to District 6, MSUE, and got quite the education of going to meetings of all the different types of services. When you think about Michigan State University Extension, you think about 4-H and some of those really highlighted programs, but the services you provide to our agricultural community in terms of herd management, crops, and also stress management, which a lot of the farmers have been facing with, and the suicide rates that are coming with that. We really do appreciate the services. We make a small investment and get a big bang for our buck. We do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Kabowski and Ms. Lynch, thank you. Appreciate it. And with that, we'll move to committee reports, Finance Administration Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our first item is consider ratifying placing on file the February 16, 2024 invoice list in the amount of $220,739.66. The February 23rd, 2024 invoice list in the amount of $3,264,030.44 in the adjustment list dated February 29, 2024. So the people in the audience, when we get ready to pay the county bills, they get sent to administration for review. Once they go through that review, there's sometimes maybe some corrections, but then they go to each of us commissioners at home in our emails, so we have a chance to look them over and ask any questions we may have. Finally, they go to Finance Administration Committee, where we go into it again, and if there's anything there, we try to iron it out before it comes to our work session, which is the meeting tonight. And so this is another opportunity. And once we have our questions answered tonight, it goes off to our regular meeting, which begins at 7 o'clock, which is at that point, everything is pretty much understandable. It's a quick motion to approve the bills. Going on to the February 16th list. The list includes a number of bills that are $5,000 or greater, and then a number of pages in the background, bills that are smaller, but aren't highlighted on the front page. Most of them on the front page are ones that we authorize payment time and time again because they're contracts. For example, there's a Humane Animal Treatment Society. We have a biweekly payment there of $6,730.77. We have snow plowing. We have our medical examiner contract, so on and so forth. And of course, we always have juvenile care bills, which can be quite costly to the county. I was surprised this time it's only $5,300 for supervision of one child. Do you have any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on any of the bills that were presented in the February 16th list? as a former park, as a former Parks and Recreation Director in this county for 13 years, I was surprised that they're still using a snowmobile to groom those trails because they're not the most stable device when you get deeper snow. And the nice thing about going with the track system, when you get backcountry muddy areas, you don't take a lot of vehicles in, or this will allow them to do maintenance with the vehicle. Any other questions or comments on that list? We'll move on then to the February 23rd list. So the February 23rd list totals $3,264.30. Oh, $30.44. And it seems like an awful lot, but a lot of the money that comes into the treasurer's office is in and out. We collect taxes and then we have to disperse it to those governmental entities that it's destined for. So except for about $120,000, all this is going out to community colleges, intermediate school districts, and so on. I did notice there is one payment to a family of $27,743.93 for foreclosure sale proceeds. Now, in the past, those proceeds would stay with the county and we could use them for the general fund. However, a finding about a year and a half, 2 years ago, both at the state level and at the federal level, found that was an unconstitutional taking of property. And I've always kind of felt that way, and I'm glad that came about. But now, when you have a tax for sale or foreclosure sale, you're allowed to keep your reasonable fees, property tax, interest on that, and then the rest of it does go back to the property owner or the heirs of that property owner, which is good. I think it's good policy, but it does reduce where we used to get hundreds of thousands of dollars or more a year that could be potentially used for the general fund. That evaporated. It's one of the financial headwinds that we face in paying our bills. Other than that, I don't have any questions on any of those big bills or any of the smaller ones in the background. All right, we'll move on then to the adjustment list. The adjustment list modifies the two previous invoice lists by making some that aren't included here, but they're to make payments early to get a discount, or to make payments early to not have a penalty. Because the billing vendor and the county may have different payment schedules and fiscal schedules, so we pay it so we don't incur some kind of a penalty by paying late. And every once in a while, there's a invoice that's adjusted due to entry error or because sales tax was included. But nothing out of the ordinary that I saw on any of those. Anybody else? The only other thing I'll comment, we haven't commented on this in a while, but I thought it's appropriate to do it today. We always get a biweekly payroll report in the back. And the reason I'm pointing out today is, there's a lot of commentary going out about how we're spending our money. And we've been saying most of our bills are payroll and fringe benefits. Well, if you look at that, the number of direct deposits and payroll checks amount to 367 payments. That's for a 2-week period, amounting to over $500,000, 536,000 and some change. These are the people that work on your behalf. They work in the county clerk's office. They take care of all the records, death, birth, any of those records. They take care of the elections. We have the drain commissioning office that takes care of the drains so we can live on the land. We have 4-H. We have just large bureaucracy of services that are provided that people value. And so I know you can make comments about how we're irresponsible in paying, but we are not. We pay the bills that we have to pay. We haven't added services over the years. And just because we're facing some headwinds, I think that it's just something we're going to have to deal with. And you have people on this board with integrity that will deal with it. Any questions about the biweekly payroll? With that, we'll move this forward then to tonight's regular meeting.
The second item for the Finance and Administration Committee is to consider approving the Master Administrative Agreement between Advanced Benefit Solutions, Inc., DBA 44 North, and Isabella County, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. I believe we have Ms. Lisa here.
I am.
How are you, Lisa?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. I'm going to turn this over to you if you don't mind.
Yes, the master admin agreement is a 46-page document that outlines the services that 44 North provides. And it kind of just relays each item, and then they have an addendum page right now. Your legal team has gone through it and made 3 recommendations. So we have that back to our Acrisure Legal and Compliance Department. 1 has already been approved. I don't think the other 2 are a problem. I think it's just timing of getting it approved, where the words on a couple of pages were to be added to the extent permitted by law to be added to the document. So once we get those back, the revised document will be re-emailed back, but it is a 46-page document, and it just checked boxes. We do a bundle service. So whether you remove or add services to it, it's that flat PEPM cost. So you'll see if you have that in front of you, like page 1 of the master admin agreement has a box marked where it talks about the health reimbursement arrangement, flex spending, and then it says do you guys have that? I see people looking around. Oh, okay, just making sure. So then you'll see, like, it'll say, addendum A, addendum C, that is further along, and this just outlines what 44 North is committing to do, what our responsibilities are, and then what your guys' responsibility is. But for example, what it does not spell out, the health reimbursement arrangement, you guys have the 3 health plans, that it's not spelled out what the deductible and co-insurance and cost shares are. This just is a services and fee agreement. Your medical plans all have the required plan documents and SBCs. So that's not what this is. So just in case someone's looking like, where are the plan designs? Those wouldn't be listed in here. And then it just goes through your, page 2, telemedicine, where you have that through Teladoc. And then as you kind of go through that, goes through the duties of the client, administrative changes, and things like that. So it just spells out just the relationship and what our responsibilities are, because it used to be we would have, just a list of services we provided, but there are certain services you don't utilize. For example, you'll see in the section where it says health savings account, you guys don't do a health savings account. So that box isn't marked, and it just was intended to be a document that gives us a clear guardrails as to what plans and what services you're utilizing. And then the cost is outlined if you move through to page, starts on page 12, kind of goes through the fee, exhibit A fee schedule, and it'll talk about like the document fee, but then it talks about the PEPM charge of $29.50, which was reduced from $39.95, I'm going from memory now, down to $9.50 at your most recent renewal at October 1st, 2023. But you can see where these boxes are marked and where it says bundle, that those services are what's included in that fee.
Lisa, could I interrupt just a second?
Yes.
I appreciate your assistance in trying to reduce expenses. I realize we did have a conversation about reducing those fees and trying to make it a little easier on the county. So thank you.
You're welcome. And so again, you'll see there are some boxes, for example, on page 13, you'll see boxes under the Vision Services Plan, VSP, that aren't marked. The reason those aren't marked is because these are some exam only and some pared down benefits. You have a different vision plan that's bundled in with your medical through Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's why that box is not marked. You got your ACA reporting module where we report for the Affordable Care Act. There's some reporting that we do. You've got a wellness program through Health Advocate. And then, for example, if you look on the page after that where you see addendum A, this is one of the changes. The words not applicable need to be removed from that page because you do have a health reimbursement arrangement. But then there's two other changes that are currently being reviewed with our legal and compliance.
Do you have any questions for Lisa? Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, a couple of your services that have been really great for our employees. You know, we struggle with healthcare costs for covering our employees. But to have the teledoc where you can call in, because a lot of your ailments are something that are really simple, rather than going to a medical facility or a hospital emergency room and paying big dollars. There's no copay or deductible for the employee, and it really benefits the cost back to the county. And the other is when you're looking at having a medical procedure done, where you can identify that and find alternate places to get that procedure, because these prices vary from one medical provider to the other. And there's a reward back to the employee too, for even looking for that. They get I think
Incentive. Yep.
and also if there's a cost savings because they select a lower cost provider, they get a share of that cost savings. So this has been good for the employees. It's been good for the county.
Thank you.
Mr. Moreno.
Yeah, I want to approve of and boost the international pricing for medications. I am a diabetic and I get on my very expensive pills internationally, and that really does a big savings too. More of our people that have insurance do that. Take that into consideration.
And Lisa, thank you personally myself, $1,000 a month versus going to Canada. And it's zero. We very much appreciate
Thank
that. Madam Administrator.
So I just wanted you to know that they paid in.
I missed that, Nicole. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
My apologies. I want. Recommend.
Sorry. It's-
You're not Mike.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's not coming through.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm sorry about that.
We need
I'm not
medical
sure
care.
why, Lisa, my apologies, but
Okay.
please let me repeat
Oh,
because it is important for you to hear. Our Employee Insurance Committee did recently vote unanimously to move forward with 44 North as our third-party administrator.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Normally I would prefer to be there in person. However, I have another meeting tonight and the travel, I couldn't be at both. So I appreciate you allowing this to be virtual.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, hearing none, we'll move this item to our regular work session, regular meeting session later this evening. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
This is consider approving the prime contract change order number 15 with Clark Construction in the net amount of $87,543 and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. Heidi, I believe is on there. She is.
Hey, you made it.
I did.
So as this project continues to unfold, and I think we're beyond 52% of the way to completion. Is that right, Heidi?
Correct. We're about 62% complete at this point. We have a lot going on out there. We had another big delivery today of detention ceiling out in the booking area today. And so that'll be starting here in the next couple of weeks. So lots going on, changing every day and painting. You walk out there and you wouldn't recognize it. It's a lot of paintings going on right now, and then painters are really knocking it out. So it's quite changed. Yeah, and food service equipment is on schedule to be delivered at the beginning of April. And so, yeah, some big milestones coming. So, yeah.
So this project, as technical as it is, this building, is just very technical. We got to anticipate that there's going to be changes that come along. Some will be dollar amounts to our favor. Some will be in dollar amounts, additional costs of the project. So we have now before us a request for the 87,543. And if you'd like to go through, what those changes entail.
Sure. So the amount of the $87,543, that is not, it's an add to the project, but we already had this fund in our budget. So this is not anything additional to the project. We were very fortunate when we bought out the project that we had some buyout savings. And right now this amount is coming from that contingency line. So I just want to make sure everyone is aware that we are not adding anything to the project budget at this point. So, so this prime contract change order number 15. So a couple of the ads here, we had to add some additional cable tray out in area B, and area B is the booking area. We added some additional phones and some security. So we did need to add some cable tray there for all the wiring that entails. We also needed to add some dividers in that cable tray to make sure that we separated the camera wiring, the phone lines, and any security wiring so that they were not all intermingled. So that was an add of $51,860, and that did come from buyout. The next item on the PCCO is we had some smoke or at the top of the walls there. We found that we had some areas where we need to add some fire stopping. That was not in the project. It's pretty detailed. We're stuffing the flutes up at the metal deck and with metal wool, and then fire stopping. And then also because it's a smoke wall, we definitely needed to add some drywall to make sure that we hit the rating that we needed to. So that add there is $29,200. And that also is coming from our buyout line. Our next item is sectional door E117. That is at the loading dock. There was no power shown to go to those overhead doors to operate. So make sure that we had power there. That was an add of $4,659. And that also is coming from buyout. And then our next item here. So when an inmate comes into the facility, they have to store their belongings. And we have, right now we have these pipe storage racks where basically their belongings are in a bag and kind of hung on these racks. There was no notes called out to paint that was required. So to paint those is $491. And that line comes from buyout as well. And then the last item on our list here is a field condition. So when we were putting the metal panels on at the Sally Port, the metal angle at the openings for the overhead doors was about 1.5 inches farther out than we needed, where the metal panel wouldn't sit flush. So we needed to cut those back. And in order to install those metal panels, that add was $1,323. And so that there is also from buyout. So that gets us at the $87,543.
So we're at this point in the project budget, we're still well under budget. We have additional buyout available of $312,106. And we have the original contingency of $781,774 for a total of $1,093,880 still under budget. So
correct.
I think Clark Construction's been doing a good job to examine the requests for the changes in the work orders that they proceed, and we appreciate that. Questions from?
I just want to make a comment. Again, thank you, Heidi. I know I bother you a lot. I'm out there for the contractor meetings. I'm out there for the owner operator meetings. And I do stick my nose into a lot of business. I appreciate your feedback and tolerating me. But again, all the effort you put into to keep this thing on target and under budget or at budget, I appreciate that. I appreciate all the contractors who were out there. Today I was out there and there was a lot of very good communication amongst the contractors trying to get this thing moving along and on schedule. So thank you again, Heidi.
You're welcome.
Commissioner,
Yeah, I want to know, could you give us a rough approximation of how much percent we have done on the project?
It's about 62% roughly.
Could you say that again, please?
62%.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions, comments on the change order? Then we'll move this forward to tonight's meeting for consideration.
Ah, there he is. Oh, no, didn't see him behind you, Doc. Fourth item is to consider approving the list of financial institutions as required by MCL 129.12 for the 2024 year. We have Treasurer Pickens here to join us and give us a little explanation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. As we discussed in the finance meeting, this is an annual event. The law provides that the county board must approve the institutions that the county treasurer invests in. You have to follow the Public Act 20 to the hilt. And Public Act 20 in a nutshell says you can only put so much percentage of your funds in certain banks, and you've got to make sure you spread it out. So one thing to note is we invest monies for the medical care facility, the road commission, ICTC, parks funds, all the funds that come to the county come through the county treasurer. And we try to set up a cash flow analysis so that when we need some money, we make sure investments come due, so we don't lose cash in CDs or whatever we have to do that. We have about $78 million roughly invested at this time. But you can see the number of institutions that are there. There's quite a few. They're only insured up to the 250,000 FDIC, and that's another reason why we have to spread out. And we'll tell you that we have a rating system that was developed by our association. Red light, yellow light, green light. We go through the Bauer Financial. We check throughout the industry, and we check the boxes, and if we come out in a negative way, we don't invest with it. This is like my money. If you know me, I'm pretty tight. So I make sure that we're not going to lose anything. Gonna lost a necklace. So. Questions?
Just a comment, Treasurer Pickens. I appreciate the effort that you put forth, and I've seen this in review of financials, maximizing the interest that we get, yet ensuring that we have cash flow. That's
It really is. Because different departments, like I say, and usually are pretty good about it. We kind of ladder things, so due dates are there. And I'll be the first one to tell you, my chief deputy does this. Okay.
Yes, she's good.
I help. But,
You help, but she's a.
he does a wonderful job with this, and she's done it for a long time. And she deserves most of the credit.
I'll be sure to do that, so pass it along. Thank you, sir. We're hearing no other comment or questions. We'll move this item to our regular board meeting tonight.
All right, next item. Consider approving the grant agreement between the State of Michigan Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs and Isabella County in the amount of $6,626 for Michigan Medical Marijuana Act Education and Outreach, and authorize the county administrator controller to sign the same. So these are dollars that I think used to go to the sheriff's department. Now they come directly to the county, which can go into our general fund. But we do feel an obligation. These are dollars that go to the state from licensing for medical marijuana. And when they come to us. Last year, I think we used them for medical lock boxes that were distributed at the county fair and other venues. So having been involved with the Mid-State Health Network before, which tries to reduce alcohol, drug and use across the state. We know that a lot of medications get thrown in a medical wall container and they're available. The young people can get at them, and this is not good. It can cause injury, cause death, cause people to become addicted to these substances. So we think that it's a good investment for those medical lock boxes, and we'll probably do the same with these funds. Any questions? Any additional information, Madam Administrator?
Add to that, that was fantastic.
We'll move this then to tonight's meeting for consideration approval.
Good. Next item up for finance and administration is to consider approving the language changes to section E, part F of the personnel manual for non-represented employees regarding hiring rates effective immediately. I'd like to read this if I may. Hiring rates. Employees will be hired at the minimum of the pay range for their classification unless the applicant has education and or experience directly applicable to the job and which is above the minimum employment requirements established for the classification, or if the outside labor market dictates a higher starting rate. Authority to compensate newly hired employees at a rate different from the minimum of the pay range shall be vested with the Board of Commissioners upon recommendation of the Administrator Controller. We were going to change that from Board of Commissioners to department head or elected official. So,
Where are you reading from? Because I'm in the agenda and I'm
I'm
clicked
reading
in
from
the,
something we had at committee.
Change.
Oh, hang on.
yeah, so
go to
you
the-
have the ability to click into your agenda or?
I don't have it up on here.
It's 10 and item
Yeah.
F.
Yeah. Getting it or no?
10.
Here we go. Paragraph. Okay. Employees will be hired at minimum of the pay range for their classification unless the applicant has education and or experience directly applicable to the job and which is above the minimum employment requirements established for the classification, or if the outside labor market indicates a higher starting rate. Authority compensate newly hired employees at a rate different than the minimum of the pay range shall be vested with the department or elected official. The administrator controller shall be informed prior to when the offer of a higher wage is made and shall have right to refuse the offer being made. Thank you.
My comments on this particular change are very similar to the good commissioner here, about being nimble in this current labor market. In comparison to how our process works, it may take weeks, even a month or more, for us to bring in someone who is qualified, very qualified, and we would really hate to lose that person. So we would like to consider turning that control of who they're going to hire over to the department head, as long as that particular individual meets certain qualifications. So, and the other part of this is the check and balance that the administrator will have in this process. The individual department head or elected would come to her, review it with her, and she has first right of refusal for that particular hire. And then if she approves it, then they can go ahead and hire the individual. So again, it helps us to be nimble. And I think we've learned, at least over the last year that I've been here, that that's important in this day and age. So any other comments? Yes, sir.
I just want to add, hopefully clarify for the folks out here. Most of our job classifications have a pay range. And so if a department head, it finds an applicant with a great amount of experience or knowledge, and they want to start that person above the minimum starting range, it requires board approval. Which takes time because it has to go through committee and then it has to go to the full board. So when a department head would find that highly experienced person and want to hire them and say, I want to start you a little higher on that scale, but I've got to take it to committee, and they meet next week, and then they take it to the full board, which meets the following week. It makes it overly burdensome. And a couple, 2-3 weeks, and that person is probably looking for other employment, and we've lost a really good applicant. So that's the reason for the change. Taking that board approval out of it and leaving it up to the department heads and the administrator.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just add, I love the process, right? Department heads, elected officials. We heard you, and we're making the change to improve operations. I do want to point out, this is not for reclassification requests, right? This was intentionally, the change was intentionally done to the hiring rate section of this policy. We're not talking about when a person wants to reclassify to a different grade scale, right? So that's important to know. And then also just important to note, still in policy, if anything were to go above budget, over budget, that still has to come back to the board. Okay, so there's still some checks and balances in policy in this regard. I just wanted to point that out.
I really support this policy. I think it's best practices both in industry and you know, we're bringing it here to our county, hopefully, if it's voted in. I think it is always wise to trust in your department heads and then, you know, allow them, you know, a certain range of movement so that they can get those best employees in. I know that we've lost people in the past who wouldn't wait for board approval. We've lost people who are local in the area who you know, had you know, a lot of job experience. So this will help us to hopefully get and retain employees. And I look forward to implementing it.
Hearing none, remove this item to the board session.
Mr. Chairman, this completes the work of the Finance and Administration Committee.
Thank you, commissioners, and that brings us to Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Our first item is consider approving the Michigan Public Safety Commission's Systems Integration Agreement and authorize the board chair to sign. This, oh, good. Online, we have Sheriff Maine to run us through this. This is a simple agreement with the local police.
Good evening. Oh, sorry, Commissioner, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
So the integration agreement is part of our radio tower project. Basically, ownership document. We did have our attorneys go through this document. It is with the state of Michigan, MPSCS, which is the radio communications, and MB, which is their technical and budgeting division. So the agreement there's two agreements. There's an integration 1 and 2. This one basically is the start. The second one is more technical detailed and will come later in the project. But this one is the ownership that we'll take. So there will be maintenance fees applied to this project over the years. I've spoken with Administrator Controller Frost, and I think that conversation we've had or are having with our local partners to share that load a little bit as it benefits multiple different entities. So This one's pretty basic. It's just saying, yes, we gave you the money, we built your tower, now the tower belongs to Isabella County.
All right, hopefully everyone got all that. Is there any questions or clarifications to make since it came through our committee? I can answer questions too.
I just want to say this, bringing to a conclusion, a problem we've had in the communications throughout this county for years. And it's great that the sheriff, our elected officials in Lansing could work together to find a solution because without it, we had possibility of loss of human life and injury because of poor communication. So this is the first major step to completing that project.
Right, so just to give further clarification, so the problem was that the communication for first responders going into big box stores, say in Union Township or the high school at Shepherd School, the officers or emergency personnel that had the handhelds could not receive communications or respond to emergency management in these situations. And so we had a $4.8 million grant from the state to improve these conditions, something that the county could never afford on their own. Excuse me. But the sheriff got this grant through and has been managing it for a couple of years now and getting it going. We are almost ready to start the build, I think. And this is obviously the agreement between all the organizations, the tribe and the CMU and Mount Pleasant Police on the ownership. But summarize. You were breaking up there a little bit, Sheriff Maine, so I thought I'd summarize the end.
So yeah, so this agreement's with the state of Michigan. Hope you can hear me. Can you hear me any better now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, this agreement's with the state of Michigan. We're in conversations about, you know, sharing those maintenance fees going forward in year 2, but this is an agreement between the state and the county that once that's built, we have ownership of it.
Great. Are there any other questions? All right, we'll move this forward to tonight's regular session. The next item is consider approving the payment of Motorola milestone number 3 in the amount of $439,746.80 for the radio tower project. Again, we have Sheriff Maine.
So this is milestone 3, as you mentioned. It's the same project we just did the integration agreement. There.
Oh, I think we lost him. So basically, we pay the money for this project to go forward and then submit online to the state, and they come back and reimburse us within a few days of the project through the grant. And
Can I make it back? I'm sorry.
You're back. This is a third payment.
Yeah. Yep. Third payment. So again, the process is worked pretty smooth. We get the funds back. We have to pay the funds. We have to resubmit them to Motorola. We get an instant electronic funds transfer proof. We turn that into the state. The state reimburses the county, so our cash flow isn't really affected. So this is the third process in that, and there'll be several more to come. But we are moving that. This one had to do with the large dishes and things that go on to the tower and so forth. So pretty much the same as we've done the last couple, and hopefully there'll be no bumps in the road and we'll be able to make it happen.
Great. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll move this forward to the regular session tonight.
Thank you for what you do, Sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff Maine.
Sure. Our last item is consider approving the 2024 state monumentation grant for the amount of $47,558 that's executed by the Register of Deeds, Karen R. Jackson. This is a state-funded program, and I'm not even sure how long it's been going on, but that's pays for the monumentation and the remonumentation and maintenance for, which is very important in case you don't know what that is. It's basically, it's important for setting the property lines and boundaries. So, and then we're also been transitioning into GPS and I'll let Richard Jackson comment.
This grant is for $47,558. We recorded our first LCRC November 30th of 1993. Act actually took place in 1990. And of course, you know anything about this day, we collected the fees. And we have a whole complicated process. We collect the fees, we voucher the fees out with a whole bunch of paperwork. Eventually, they send some of the fees back after they do a whole big complication. The reason we are not in maintenance and are not going to go into maintenance until the very last minute that we have to is because you get half the money when you go into maintenance. And so in order to take advantage of as much money as we can get, we will wait until that was Mr. Rudel's. He had a very eloquent way of describing it, which I won't use his language, but we will wait. Last moment to go into maintenance, and Mr. Rouser, who is now our representative, is of the same mind. We now can do center of sections, which does help shore up the GIS in different places, and so we are going back and doing some of those center of sections. We're going to continue to do that before we go and finish everything else, because we don't want to go into maintenance and let the state take Isabella's money and give it to somebody else.
Okay, is there more questions? Seeing none, we'll move that forward to the night session, and Mr. Chairman, that completes the work of the Criminal Justice and County Affairs Committee.
Thank you, commissioners. We have no human resources and public works business, no intergovernmental affairs, no administrator controller issues, no unfinished business. Under new business, item A is consider approving an external hiring freeze for all general fund funded positions unless the requirements of the position will not allow for it, effective immediately. I don't know, Administrator Frost, if you want to comment on this one.
Certainly. So, we felt that some talk for a while now that the hiring freeze would be in order. Although in conversations, we don't want to limit necessary positions from being filled, right? Positions that might make the organization go backwards. I think about one of the hiring situations that brought forward the change in the personnel manual, right? As we know, we were trying to hire an electrical inspector. And I think we lost a few in the process because of our inability to be nimble in that regard. Now, in an external hiring freeze, what would limit filling in positions with existing county employees or internal applicants only. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing we don't have any qualified electrical inspectors already on staff. We would need to go outside to fill that. That's the thought. In attorney leads, we probably don't have a qualified individual on staff. We would then need to go externally. So right now it's an external hiring freeze. If the qualifications, requirements of a position would dictate otherwise that it be filled, then we'll work through administration for that process.
And I know this is for general funded positions, so we do have some operations such as enterprise funds, which is the building inspection. So, you know,
for example,
that may not be one that pertains here. We have Parks and Recreation. They're going to be hiring They have their own source of funds. It's not anything to do with the general fund. And they'll be hiring their seasonal rangers pretty soon. So we're trying to be cooperative. But as we look at having to adjust the budget for the future, we know there's going to be serious reductions in staffing and services. And we just don't feel it's going to be doing anybody it'd be doing somebody a disservice to hire them into a position to let them know that, hey, sorry, the job's gone. We can't afford it. So it's just trying to be a little bit proactive. We are trying to work through writing the financial ship of state of the county government. And I guess I can say we can see the light. We're going to be meeting very shortly with our elected officials and department heads, exchanging ideas. But we did get a very definite direction from the voters from the election on 2.5 mil. They want us to stay within our current levy and do the best we can with what we have, and that's what our intentions are to do exactly that.
Good. Any other comments? Questions? We'll consider that this evening. And item B, which was added as a discussion of commissioner pay. Yeah,
Given our current financial situation, in contrast to our looming financial situation that's coming down the road, I believe that this board should set the example. We should lead by example. And we should consider reducing board of commissioner. Guess it would not be base pay, compensation by 15% is my recommendation. So I think that would get us off to a good start as far as being part of the solution. Oh, sorry.
any comments?
I
Yes,
guess
sir.
I kind of agree with that, that we are a part of the solution. We're going to be asking for elected officials, department heads, staff throughout the county to accept reductions in budget. They're probably going to have to take on additional responsibilities with this remaining staff that they will have. So it's going to be a shared, I want to say shared hardship. It's going to be a shared adventure that we all face. And I've heard rumors about how we make these outlandish amounts of dollars per year, but for compensation right now, we have commissioners that are making basically $7,000. That's what it is. And that has to cover our transportation for all the meetings we go to and just a variety of things. So we're not overpaid, but we want to be a part of the solution.
Just a thought, and I was ready to support this tonight. One of the public speakers got me kind of thinking that, for one thing, I know that Ms. Frost has spoken to our legal counsel, and this board cannot raise or lower their pay. So this would become effective under the next term. And so we're not cutting this board's pay, we're cutting the next board's term. And I don't think any of us, I certainly don't, feel like we own these seats. I hope we do have every seat contested. Given that, we really aren't lowering our compensation. We're lowering the compensation for the next board to come in. And I'm wondering if that would discourage anyone from running for these seats. I certainly don't want to do that.
Yeah, I have a concern, and that is, maybe people don't know it, but our next term is 4 years. So would this be for 4 years of people that aren't maybe even here yet? has really big implications as far as I'm concerned.
I think the reason that we've been talking about the year is because this is the last year of the term. So the law is you cannot lower an elected official's salary during their term.
Certainly respect, I don't want to dissuade anyone from money. But I do feel that our financial situation is not a 1 year situation. This is 4 or 5. This will be through the full term of the next board. So if they want to get on board, then my feeling is that they should be part of the solution. If I'm reelected, accept that. Accept it now.
I guess I don't see that. Oh, go ahead. You haven't had a chance to speak.
I haven't had a chance to speak. Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate Mr. Lux's comments earlier. You know, as a small business owner and a farmer, I said, I don't think I can speak for hopefully most of the board that the time we put in here, I know that we have to take off time from work and stuff. And as a farmer, I know there's several times where I've come in out of the field or I had to wait for something and it actually cost me money. So you know, I don't think that our compensation is what most of us do this for. So, good.
What Commissioner Engler said made me think of something, and you know, I've been on here the longest of any person on the board, and I've talked to a lot of commissioners all over the state, and like Gratiot County, they get $14,000. Some other retirement money, all kinds of stuff. We are one of the lowest of all the counties, and I know the poverty rate in Isabella County is 54%, but you know, I think that's something to take into consideration. And also, I've got here, you know, and because I have an 8:15 meeting on Mondays or Tuesdays, I can't work at other jobs. So I don't know. I know it's very hard for me to do this.
This to our chair earlier, I don't have a problem with, you know, reducing my salary, but I do feel like the county compensation for Board of Commissioners may be exclusive to people running for election of these seats, because, you know, right now we have people on the board are either retired or, you know, or we're working jobs that we can manage doing this additional work. We're definitely not doing it for the pay. I know that, you know, we're not going to be, you know, raising our salaries to $14,000 and $21,000 like they have in Wayne County or whatever. That's not something that's going to happen in Isabella. But I hate for us to backslide even further into, you know, where only, you know, certain people can be on the board because of salary. So, I mean, I have to think about this. I certainly want to represent our employees and take the first step and draw my own blood in the coming days, but there are a lot of things to consider. I'm not sure I've really decided on this.
I'm pretty sure that we'll have to run this through legal, but I don't think there's any restrictions that we can voluntarily get back part of our salary on if that comes to it, and if we don't want to do that here, but I think we could make a commitment to voluntarily, but like I said, I'd want to make sure that was legally acceptable, so.
So I wanted to revisit what the process is to set your board salary for the next term. Normally you would do that in your budget process, right? And it would be in your budget resolution and you'll look to adopt that by your second meeting in September. So there is a lot of time to talk about. So that's going forward, right? That's how you set that salary for the next term. For the current year, Commissioner Engler, you are exactly right. If you feel that strongly about it, your opportunity now is to be paid your salary and donate it back to the county. That would be your opportunity in the current year if you felt strongly about it.
I would think if this does not go through, then that's a program I would follow.
So we've had a good discussion. We see that there's some additional things we need to consider. And we agreed to not move it on to tonight's meeting and take a look at that through the budget process.
I for one would be in favor of that and we have one commissioner who wasn't here to weigh in on it.
We'll have the March 26th meeting together as well. We can
Right.
discuss that.
So our March 26th meeting.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any other comments, questions on that item? Hearing nothing further, that completes new business, brings us down to general public comments. Is there anyone for general public comment? Have anyone online, do we, Michelle? Anyone for general public comment? Going once, going twice, okay. Seeing no one for general public comment. Announcements, commissioners, any announcements? Yes, sir.
I would like to bring up something that we all received in our email. I felt it was very disturbing to me. It was an email from a person called Taj Jorley. I think he ran unsuccessfully in the primary for the House district in the last election. I think he came in third or fourth, being filled by Jerry Nyer. But I look at this and I was trying to think, what is the motivation? Why did he send this to us? I won't go through the whole thing, but he gets in here about fiscal negligence, incompetence that you and our county board commissioners have exhibited, throws out a lot of this crap. To me, it's big on innuendo and short on facts. I've never felt like a victim of a drive-by shooting before until I read this darn piece of yellow paper. Newsflash, it's not our fault that you and your board of commissioners cannot do your jobs. We as a county will not stand by while you try to villainize us for your failure to do our jobs. It goes on to one thing he brought up was the asbestos abatement. He wondered how we could go from having the test and having the test come back in a manner that says, okay, the occupied space can be reoccupied. We can bring in the people, the public again, we can bring in the staff because the asbestos findings are lower even for K-12 school requirements posted by government regulatory agencies. But here we sat thinking about it on 27,000 square feet. We know we have under the floor a laminated fireproofing that's delaminating and dropping. And the reason we found it, we had 3 rooms that didn't have ceiling tiles in them. And those rooms are red hot. They were closed until they were cleaned. And here we were this gentleman suggesting that we made a wrong decision because we moved on to a project that it's going to cost us. We didn't want this project. We already had financial headwinds, but he's suggesting we should have just looked beyond the fact that we have good air quality in the occupied space, forgetting that anybody ever moves one of those tiles in the other building, works on an HVAC system, lighting, cabling, or anything, they're gonna bring that asbestos down into the environment, endangering public health and the health of our employees. It would have been gross negligence if we didn't take the step that we have. But for him, and I'll tell you, I've been on the board 10 years. I've never seen this man at any work session, any county board meeting, any committee meeting. I've never seen his name on any committee or board application to be involved, but here he comes as an expert on what we need to do as the county board, what we should have done, what we could have done. And he was quite harsh on our county administrator, and I feel bad because our county administrator is rather new, and everything we ask her to do, she has outperformed. She's given us many, many hours. And as we've looked at the things that we've had to make decisions on over the years, we've spent hundreds of hours every year looking at to come up with an informed decision. And I'm not gonna let some Yahoo put this out. I wasn't gonna do anything about it. I was gonna wait for him to put it in the newspaper so I could do a letter to the editor in response. And I'm hoping he still does, because what I'm saying tonight is not the end of it. And he says, I could go on and on about the reckless spending practices our county has exhibited over the years. Sadly, there are plenty of examples. Oh, damn it, give them. I'd like to respond to them. There aren't, the examples are not there. We've done our jobs for the public. We are here because we want to serve the public. We don't need this job. It's not a high-paying employment. We do it out of public service. And I'm not going to stand by and have somebody take pot shots and go unanswered. And I'll be very vocal in the future for anybody else that wants to make uninformed pot shots at the county board. That's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to say on it.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Yes, sir. Commissioner Engler.
Yeah, I just got this last night, so I wanted to extend invitation from our local Farm Borough president. Wanted to have a commissioner or several of them, so if any of you want to attend, there's going to be a legislative update. It involves Isabella Gratiot and Montebello. And it's going to be March 18th at the Riverdale Tavern under new management from Riverdale. So anybody's familiar with the tavern, you know that it's
Frog legs.
fish fry, gizzards. They have gizzards there. They do. Yeah, they do fried gizzards. Anyways, it's from 11 to 1 o'clock, and if anybody's interested, going to get hold of me, and I'll forward that on there. But I plan on attending, so that's it.
Any other announcements? I'll just say that, you know, the millage failed, and so that means, and that's, the people had a chance to vote on that, and they gave us a clear mandate. And we'll live within the 6.61 mils that we operate under. It will mean cuts. We've been in the process of trying to identify those cuts. We don't know what they are yet. We don't want to start putting things out public till we know for sure what cuts are going to be made. We won't put speculation out there. And so I know it's tough for folks, but we just aren't completely sure yet what those cuts will look like. We've got a pretty good idea, but it's not 100% written in stone yet. We still need to talk to all the department heads and all the elected officials and get their input and go from there. As soon as those plans, those cuts are set in stone, will be made public. That's all I have. Any other announcements? Okay, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
6:28.